Imagine that an ancient and dark truth is hidden in the heart of one of the most sacred places in the world. A secret that could change everything that millions of people believe to be true. What if the Antichrist was already among us, hiding in plain sight, disguised in symbols of faith and devotion? Today, we're going to uncover a shocking and unexpected revelation that connects the Kaaba in Mecca with the very fate of humanity. But beware, what you discover here may challenge everything you know about good, evil, and the role of Jesus at the end of time. Get ready, because the secret is about to be revealed, and it may be much deeper and scarier than you think. Stay with us until the end to understand how this mystical, millennia-old plot directly affects your life. In a world where spiritual mysteries and long-forgotten prophecies seem to be converging, the disturbing idea has emerged that the Antichrist is already among us, sneaking around the earth, disguised in sacred places and symbols of faith. It's a hypothesis that shakes the core of many people's beliefs, especially when you consider the possibility of a hidden connection with the Kaaba, the heart of Islamic devotion, located in Mecca. In the midst of this enigmatic scenario, it is speculated that Jesus, the one seen as the bearer of truth, the revealer of secrets, is the only one capable of exposing the true nature of this evil entity and shedding light on the role that sacred sites play in a spiritual plot that goes back ages. The Kaaba is more than just a building. It is the spiritual center of millions of Muslims around the world. Since time immemorial, the faithful have turned their faces towards this sacred structure to perform their daily prayers. However, there is one piece in the Kaaba that has always intrigued scholars, believers, and theologians: the Black Stone. This rock, venerated and worshipped, is embedded in one of the corners of the Kaaba and carries with it an aura of mystery. It is often considered a key piece of the spiritual connection between heaven and earth, but it also raises questions. What does it really represent? Is the Black Stone linked to the Antichrist himself, serving as a receptacle for a dark and dangerous power? Such a claim, if true, could destabilize everything we know about faith and devotion. This is where Jesus comes in as the unraveler of the darkest mysteries. In the scriptures, he is described as the one who will come at the end of time to reveal the truth, unmasking the beast of Revelation and exposing the deceptions of the spirit world. The image of Jesus as the bearer of light and truth is comforting for many, but the current context reveals a number of complexities. In a world where figures like Baal, an entity revered in ancient times and synonymous with idolatry and deception, have been given new interpretations, Jesus' revelations become more relevant than ever. Baal's connection to pagan practices and dark cults raises the possibility that evil itself is hidden in symbols that, at first glance, seem sacred. This is why Jesus, in the view of many, is the only one capable of shedding light on such deceptions, unmasking ancient powers that have remained disguised for centuries. One of the most provocative ideas suggests that Allah, as mentioned in the Quran, could somehow be confined within the Black Stone itself. This view profoundly upsets the traditional beliefs of Islam, which see Allah as a transcendental entity and totally independent of any physical object. However, by suggesting that Allah, or at least a form of representation of his essence, inhabits the Black Stone, we are faced with a disturbing question. What is imprisoned in this stone? Could this entity actually be the Antichrist himself? This theory opens the door to an intense theological debate, where the notions of worship, idolatry, and deception are interwoven in a complex network of hidden meanings. For some, the Prophet Muhammad also plays an important role in this spiritual drama. There are those who hold the view that Muhammad, throughout his life and prophecies, created an image of the beast, a symbol that, according to the scriptures, represents the deception that leads humanity into false worship. This idea suggests that the very act of venerating the Kaaba and the black stone could actually be a subtle form of idolatry, diverting people's attention away from the true worship of God. It's a hypothesis that strikes at the heart of Muslim belief and insinuates that, at some point, a deceptive spiritual force took the place of genuine worship, leading humanity down a path of distorted faith. However, at the end of it all, biblical prophecy states that Jesus will be the last and great judge, the one who will judge the Antichrist and the false prophet, throwing them into the lake of fire, a symbol of eternal damnation and the triumph of good over evil. In this narrative, Jesus is the symbol of divine victory and of the justice that will inevitably reach all those who have deceived and led humanity astray. His image as judge is powerful, representing the hope that evil will not have the last word. For those awaiting Jesus' return, this moment will be the culmination of a long spiritual struggle, where the forces of darkness will finally be defeated and the light will prevail. Even more disturbing is the suggested link between the Kaaba and ancient pagan traditions. Many experts claim that before the rise of Islam, pagan temples were built pointing to the location of the Kaaba, implying a spiritual continuity that few recognize. If true, this statement suggests that worship towards the Kaaba may have much older roots, possibly connected to pagan practices of veneration. In a scenario where good and evil intermingle throughout history, the presence of pagan structures linked to the Kaaba hints that human devotion, even when sincere, can be manipulated by forces operating in the shadows. In the Christian view, this historical connection with paganism may indicate that Satan himself has been influencing humanity through religious symbols and practices since the beginning of time. According to this theory, evil skillfully disguises itself in places of worship and sacred symbols, attracting believers who unknowingly end up participating in rituals that may be far removed from true divine worship. For the faithful, the prophecy about Jesus' return and the final judgment is what brings hope in the midst of chaos. Jesus will come as the just and definitive King, exposing what is hidden and unmasking all the forces of deception that have tried to replace his truth. At that moment, he will separate the true from the false, and the world will see beyond any doubt who the deceivers are and who those who remained faithful were. For Christians, this vision of the final judgment is the promise that, regardless of the trials, good will triumph, and those who persevere in the faith will have an eternal reward. However, the conflict between the Bible and the Quran remains a central theme of this narrative. While the Bible presents Jesus as the Son of God, the Savior and divine judge, the Quran offers a different view, considering him only a prophet. This discrepancy becomes even more significant in the end times, where each side sees the other narrative as a source of potential deception. For many, this is the point at which the spiritual conflict intensifies, and the truth of each belief will be put to the test in the final battle between light and darkness. This narrative concludes with a clear encouragement to the faithful. Stand firm. Don't be fooled by the seductions of the Antichrist or by misleading revelations that may arise in the course of time. Jesus promised that he would return, and when that happens, there will be no more room for lies or deceit. The final judgment will bring justice and light, and all those who have waited patiently will be welcomed into a kingdom of peace and truth. The message is one of hope, but also one of vigilance. Each person is called to remain faithful, to resist the forces of deception, and to put their trust in the one who will reveal everything at the right time. Jesus' return is the promise that evil will not dominate forever, and that, in the end, the whole truth will be revealed to the world, dispelling the darkness and bringing forth the eternal light of justice. In the face of this complex narrative, where prophetic figures, ancient traditions, and the battle between good and evil intertwine, the figure of Jesus emerges as the ultimate symbol of truth and redemption. His promise of return is an anchor of hope for those awaiting the end of time and the final judgment, but it also represents a warning to those still immersed in spiritual deceptions and illusions. Jesus is described in the biblical prophecies as the only light capable of illuminating the darkness and revealing the true purpose behind, apparently, sacred symbols and rituals. This concept is especially relevant in the context of the Kaaba and the Black Stone, central symbols of a faith followed by millions of people around the world. The Kaaba, as the center of Muslim devotion, is one of the most revered and venerated sites on the planet. Many Muslims make the pilgrimage to Mecca, called Hajj, with the aim of purifying themselves and drawing closer to Allah. However, theories that raise suspicions about the true nature of the Black Stone suggest that what is venerated may have a much darker and more complex history. There are historical records that the Kaaba and the Black Stone existed long before the emergence of Islam and were already revered in pre-Islamic practices. These accounts indicate that ancient pagan peoples worshipped the Black Stone and attributed supernatural power to it. For some scholars, this connection with pagan practices is evidence that the Black Stone could be a point of contact with dark forces that feed on human worship and manipulate people's faith. The idea that Jesus will come to expose the truth about these sites adds an element of urgency for those who believe that spiritual deception is everywhere, hidden even in the most sacred places. In a scenario where the Antichrist is already present on earth, disguised and hidden among symbols of faith and devotion, the figure of Jesus as the unmasker is essential. He is the only one capable of seeing beyond appearances and exposing the true essence of what is hidden. For many Christians, this reinforces the need for spiritual vigilance and a sincere commitment to the truth, as they believe that, in the end, only those who remain firm in their faith will be able to resist the deception and seductions of the Antichrist. Muhammad's role in the creation of the image of the beast is another controversial idea that deeply stirs Islamic beliefs. For many Muslims, Muhammad is the last prophet, a messenger chosen by Allah to bring the final word to the world. But this alternative view, which suggests that he may have participated in a deception plot, raises questions about the nature of the revelations and what really lies behind the worship of the symbol of the Kaaba and the Black Stone. If Muhammad really did play a role in creating a deceptive image, it would mean that Islam, in its original form, was committed from the outset to a deceptive spiritual agenda, designed to divert humanity from the truth. However, Jesus' role goes beyond simply exposing deception. He is also the final judge, the one who will bring justice for all and who will separate the true from the false. The scriptures indicate that, at the end of time, Jesus will judge not only the Antichrist, but also all those who have been led astray by his deceptions, including false prophets and figures who have led humanity astray. This judgment is vividly described in the book of Revelation, where Jesus throws the Antichrist and the false prophet into the lake of fire, symbolizing eternal and irremediable damnation. This image of final damnation reinforces the seriousness and gravity of the decision that each person must make regarding their faith and what they choose to worship. Another intriguing aspect of this narrative is the idea that ancient pagan temples and cults already pointed to the location of the Kaaba long before Islam emerged. For some, this suggests a historical and spiritual continuity between paganism and the worship of the Kaaba. These temples, aligned towards what is now considered one of Islam's holiest sites, could indicate that worship at the Kaaba has roots in much earlier devotional rituals linked to ancient gods and entities. This theory brings up a discussion about the true purpose of these rituals and what might be behind the religious practices adopted in different eras and cultures. If, in fact, the worship of the Kaaba and the black stone is connected to pagan traditions, this would indicate that the forces at work in the spiritual world are much more complex and obscure than modern interpretations of religions allow us to understand. Evil, in this case, would have adapted over time, hiding under the cloak of new symbols and practices, but maintaining its essence of deception and spiritual manipulation. For those who believe in Jesus as the final unmasker, this possibility reinforces the need for discernment and unwavering faith. In the end, everything converges on the moment of final judgment, where Jesus is the definitive judge. His promise of return and judgment not only represents an end to evil, but also a renewal of truth and a promise of eternal justice for those who have remained loyal. This vision of a future where all deception will be exposed and justice will prevail is a message of hope for many, but also a reminder that, until then, it is necessary to beware of spiritual traps. For those waiting for that moment, it is a call to resist and stand firm, awaiting the final revelation in which all things will be made clear. Thus, this narrative unfolds as an epic drama where Jesus, the Antichrist, and symbols such as the Kaaba and the black stone are in a cosmic battle for the fate of human souls. This battle represents the struggle between the true and the false, the sacred and the profane, and it is up to everyone to decide to whom they will pay their devotion. In the end, the message is clear. Stay vigilant, trust in the truth of Jesus, and prepare yourself, because the final battle between light and darkness is closer than you think. By the end of this journey, a new understanding of what is hidden and the forces at work behind the scenes of faith and devotion may have emerged. The ancient mysteries, the prophecies, and the eternal struggle between light and darkness now seem closer to being revealed. But the truth, as we have seen, is a force that does not hide forever. And when Jesus returns, he will bring all the secrets to light, separating the true from the false. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think about these revelations? Do you believe that these mysteries could really be connected to the end times? Share your impressions in the comments below. If this content has brought you new reflections and you want to continue following topics that go beyond the superficial, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the next videos. Remember, knowledge is a light, and together we can continue to unravel the mysteries of our existence.